I don't. I hadn't heard anything happen at the Manning camp that might have been interesting.
Well, I got a few interesting comments from down that way. Of course, Anthony Boone, our quarterback, was there, and one of our young graduate assistants. But that was some interesting publicity that came out of there, wasn't it?
But what's your impression of what Anthony maybe had gotten out of that, and of course looking ahead to the year you expect that?
Well, I tell you, that's a fun event for the quarterbacks, and they size each other up, and they put on throwing displays, and they get to teach and communicate. I think one of the things it does, Anthony told me, he said, Coach, it's kind of frustrating to coach people. I said, no, you're just finding that out. Huh? But he had a good time, and as we move forward, I think since we're talking about Anthony, it's kind of an indication of where the Duke football team's been. He's had a great spring and a great summer. A lot of energy there coming off a successful season to some degree. And I think they all realize that the only thing we can do that makes it a good year now is to get better and to move forward. And that's the challenge that we want and the challenge that we're faced with.
I know you looked at your team, including Anthony, including a quarterback, and you've adjusted the offense some, right, because of the personnel you have.
Yeah, we've always tried to be a chameleon on offense, and what I mean by that is that what do your people do best? When you look at a guy's skill set, I don't really never had two quarterbacks exactly the same. So as we move forward into this, it's not just the quarterback. It's what your offensive line does best. Your route combinations have a lot to do, and personnel groupings has a lot to do with what you have available to you. And then really the same things there defensively. What does your secondary do best is going to be a big theme with Duke football this year.
Dan Tortora, DTB Media, and Coach, first and foremost, your relationship with the Mannings, how did that start, and how does it help Duke football going forward with quarterbacks you bring in?
Well, it goes all the way back to watching young Peyton play high school football at Isadora Newman in New Orleans, and I just fell in love with him. But it's oddly enough, my first, I went as a prospect to Legion Field to see Archie play against Alabama in a game where he set the all-time total offense record. He just blew me away, and it's kind of odd that he's come full circle since that time. And so signing Peyton and coaching Peyton at Tennessee was good fortune, and we developed a very close relationship, being his quarterback coach. And when I took the head coaching job at Ole Miss, it happened to be when Eli Manning was a senior prospect coming out, and the first phone call I made officially as the head coach at the University of Mississippi was to Eli. And I knew I had a good recruiter in the house in Olivia Manning. So having that opportunity to have both of those guys there, have great experiences with them. We've always done this. They've always, come back, been around. And with Peyton and this rehab circumstance 2 years ago, it received so much attention. And certainly, I doubt we could have gone to New York and hired a PR firm for any better publicity than what Duke football got out of that from a national standpoint. So people were kind of camped out there during all that. So it might have came close to killing Art Chase, our able sports information director. It got a little tough, but I think all in all, it's been good for us.
Hey, Coach, Jim Connors from News 14 Carolina, Time Warner Cable. Good to see you. I'm looking at this media poll that they distributed, and I'm looking at the Coastal Division and towards the bottom, and I see that the teams don't match the one that I submitted yesterday. But I'm just wondering how you react to all the progress you've made, but still the perception that you see there.
I think it's a great reminder for myself and the staff. There's a lot of culture work still to be done. And it's just the culture is what it falls back to. It's called inertia, and that's just, it goes right back to the direction it was going in a lot of people's minds. So we have that battle, and my message to the team and really to the staff is, you don't like what you're getting, then change what you're doing. And I think the signal is now for consistently being a winner. And that's on us to prove. So I think our players will react to that, which is good and fine, but emotion is one thing, and again, we're looking for some long-term consistency and effect.
Hey, Coach Bob Holliday. Ross Cockrell seemed to be pretty upbeat yesterday, even though he's lost most of the guys that played alongside him. He's more upbeat because of the returnees in the defensive front. Do you agree with him that there's a chance to get more pass rush this year?
Yes, I think there's a reason to be excited as a Duke defensive football player and a coach, and he's basing it upon spring practice. And we have some able bodies that can play in the back end, but we do need our front. All of those guys return. They've been starting, a lot of them, since they were freshmen. Now they're juniors and seniors. They need to play like juniors and seniors, and Ross is, without question, our leader on defense. And but I'm glad he is upbeat. He should be, and he is just a great football player and a great young man.
Andy Mitchell, WRAL in Raleigh. What is the one question you've been asked most frequently this offseason to answer?
Probably how you're going to replace Sean Renfrey and Connor Vernon. Which, you know, I think they were great players, but I think that's not the question. I think the question is how are you going to grow that secondary, you know, and as quickly as you need to, because we really had a bigger loss in that regard. We lost Lee Butler to injury, so he wasn't there, but Jordan Bias, Tony Foster, Walt Canny, you know, guys that were staples for us for a while. So, but that's no question, you know, and that's the natural thing. Everybody wants to talk about the quarterback. And then certainly Connor Vernon is challenging, and Desmond Scott as well. But I like this team. I really like this Duke football team. If we have the kind of August I expect us to have, I think we'll create some expectations for ourselves.
Coach Mark Larson for Wine TV in Syracuse. You talked about your defense a little bit. Your defensive coordinator, Jim Knowles, of course, used to be at Cornell up our way. What does Jim Knowles bring to your program? What kind of relationship do you have with him?
Well, Jim coached defense for us at Ole Miss when I was the head coach at Ole Miss, and he was there with us for a year. We won 10 games and beat Oklahoma State in the Cotton Bowl, and he was very instrumental with that. And then he got, he's a Cornell grad, got the job up there, and Jim has just got a great overall knowledge of defense, a ton of energy, and I knew he had reached a point where I felt like, you know, he'd done about what he was going to be able to do back at his alma mater, and he needed to step back in our level of football, and so I aggressively went after him, and I think he's an outstanding defensive football coach, and brings a lot of expertise, knowledge, and Jim's one of the more loyal people to his players and the other coaches. He's a great staff person.
Nikos Murray, CNY Central Syracuse. Coach, just your general thoughts on the additions of the new schools here to the conference, namely Syracuse and Pittsburgh.
Well, I love it. You know, with Pitt and Syracuse, you know, just a little bit of a different kind of you know, tradition and history. You know, with Eastern football, you know, you go back to the physical Syracuse teams, and you know, from my standpoint, man, I think Jim Brown and Floyd Little, and you go to Pitt and you think of guys like Ditka and Dorsett, and I think it's just a new flavor to the league. And you know, I've been 30 years in the Southeastern Conference and then came to the ACC, and so I went through a phase of growing in the SEC. We're sitting right there. We've got a Premier League as it sits, but there's a ton of opportunity. Our meetings at Amelia Island, I think, left all of us energized as coaches in the ACC. So I think we've got a lot, fans, media, coaches, players, we've got a lot to look forward to with ACC football and our new expanded league.
Last one for Cutcliffe.
How different is it this year now that you've been to a bowl game, not to get the constant question, when are you guys going to a bowl game?
Well, that's one question I haven't gotten this year. You know, and I think that was such a big hurdle with our players and our staff. But I think where it left us, you know, 5 years have ended. We made it to a bowl game. Now I think we also understand we got to bury everything we've done. And really nothing there matters, it's all moving forward. And if you want to create traditions, it's got to be recent. You know, this day and time, one of the things that young people, they have short memories. So we got a chance to build off that, and that is really significant for us.
You have the chance this year.